Hello guys, Joseph here again. Thank you so much for joining me. And this is the last video in the advanced pattern series. And in this video I'm going to be explaining to you guys how I trade the Cypher pattern. And the Cypher pattern for me is the most exciting pattern because it's got the best winning ratio when compared to the godly or the bad pattern. So let's go over to the chart and I'm going to show you guys all the rules that make up the Cypher pattern. And like always guys, I'm going to start with a simple diagram so that you guys can see what the Cypher pattern looks like before I take you over to the charts and then show you guys a few examples of the Cypher pattern. So because we know the market can go up or it can go down, so a Cypher pattern can either be bullish, which means once the Cypher pattern completes you expect the market to reverse and go back up, or the Cypher pattern can be bearish, meaning once the market completes the Cypher pattern you expect the market to reverse and go back down. So for a bullish Cypher pattern, we're going to start with the impulse leg, and just like the impulse leg for any other advanced pattern, we're going to draw the impulse leg from the bottom left to the top right. So that's the impulse leg of a bullish Cypher pattern. And we're going to go ahead and do the same and draw the impulse leg for a bearish Cypher pattern, and in that case it's going to be the opposite. So instead of drawing it from top to bottom, we draw it from bottom to top. We draw it from top to bottom. So, and I'm going to go ahead and label this impulse leg with the standard labeling of advanced pattern. The starting point is usually known as X. So we got the X, and the end point is known as A. So that's the X to A leg of an advanced of a Cypher pattern. X to A leg, and we're going to do the same with the bearish one. Note that whatever I'm doing the opposite to the bearish one. So X is going to be at the top for a bearish Cypher pattern, and A is going to be at the bottom. So there we are. So to make it even more professional, I'm going to go ahead and label the whole chart here. This is the bullish Cypher pattern. And this is the bearish Cypher pattern. I'm going to change that to red. Actually, I'm going to make a little adjustment here. I'm going to take that one up a little bit. You're going to see in a minute why that is very, very useful. So now we've got the impulse leg for a Cypher pattern. So the next thing to do is bring in the next leg, which is the retracement of the X to A leg, or in other words, the A to B leg. So we're going to go ahead and label that as B. And we're going to do the same for the bearish Cypher pattern, A to B. So the next thing is we're going to bring on our Fibonacci tool, because with this Fibonacci tool we're going to use the Fibonacci tool to know what retracement line B has to touch before it can qualify as a valid leg of a Cypher pattern. Now the rule is, let me bring in the Fibonacci tool and I'm going to tell you what the rule is. So the rule is, for a Cypher pattern, for the A to B leg to be valid for a Cypher pattern, it must touch the 382 retracement line of the X to A leg. It can also touch the 50% retracement, and it can also touch the 618 retracement, but it must not touch the 786 retracement. So basically, this B has to come in anywhere between the 382 retracement and the 786 retracement, but it shouldn't touch the 786 retracement. It must touch the 382 retracement, it can touch the 50% retracement, and it can touch the 618 retracement. It can even go beyond the 618 retracement as long as it doesn't touch the 786 retracement. So I'm going to go ahead and leave B right there on the 382 retracement. I'm going to take off the Fibonacci. I'm going to do the same. X to A leg, we're looking for B to come into the 382 retracement. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the next leg of the Cypher pattern, which is known as the B to C leg. So I'm going to go ahead and label that C. B to C leg. Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting, because the rule for the C leg of a cipher pattern, the rule for the B to C leg of a cipher pattern is that C must touch the 127 extension of the X to A leg. So I'm going to bring in my Fibonacci extension tool. I'm going to go swing low to swing high and back down again. So this is the rule. The rule is that C must touch the 127 extension of the X to A leg, and it shouldn't touch the 141. So basically C has to come in between the 127 and the 141 extension line. So as long as C doesn't touch 141, it has to touch the 127 extension, and it can go beyond the 127 extension anywhere within this space as long as it doesn't touch the 141 extension. So that's what qualifies C as a valid leg of a cipher pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off, and I'm going to do the same thing with the bearish cipher pattern as well. Swing low, swing high to swing low, and back down again. And the extension we're looking for, you can see right there the C is already between the 127 and the 141 extension. So we're going to leave that where it is. So the next thing to do is to bring in our entry point, or the C to D leg of a cipher pattern. Now the rule for this is, for us to get the entry point of a cipher pattern, the C to D leg must come all the way to the 786 retracement line of the X to C leg. So it's no longer X to A leg. We're just extending this extension all the way to C. So, and the retracement, or the entry point that we're looking for, is the 786 retracement all the way down here below B. So we're going to go ahead and bring in our C to D leg. So C to D leg must come into the 786 retracement, and that's going to be our entry point. So let me go ahead and label that as D. And I'm going to do the same thing. So we're looking at the retracement from the X to C leg, and we're looking at a 786 retracement. So C all the way there. Take that off, label that as D. Okay, so I want you guys to note one thing about this cipher pattern. And the thing I want you guys to take note is that all the way since I've been explaining, since I've been using the Fibonacci tool and explaining how you get all the rules for this cipher pattern, you can see that the Fibonacci tool, the extension we've been focusing on, that the most common factor on that extension is X. And what I mean by that is, for us to get the B point of a cipher pattern, we use that Fibonacci line from X to A to get B. And for us to get the C point of a cipher pattern, we use the Fibonacci extension line from X to A. That's how we got the 127 and the 141 extension. And for us to get the entry point, which is D, we use the Fibonacci retracement line from X to C. So as you can see with this pattern, you don't really have to keep changing your Fibonacci tool. You can leave it at the same point. You can leave it at this X to A leg. All you have to do is to get the entry point. That's the only time you move it all the way to C in order to get your entry point. But to get the B point and the C point, you can just draw the Fibonacci from X to A, and straight away you get your B point 382 and you get your C point 127 extension. And this is very important, guys, because this is a lot different from most of the advanced pattern that I've already shown you guys how to trade it. So the final thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to complete this triangle. It's not really important, but it's just, that's how it is, So I'm going to go ahead and complete that triangle. I'm going to do that one as well, just to make it pretty. So that's our bullish cipher pattern, and that's our bearish cipher pattern. So this is it, guys. This is what the cipher pattern look like. So next time you see a picture like this, you can just tell that it is a cipher pattern. So what I'm going to do is, in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to actually trade this pattern in terms of where your targets are going to go and where your stop loss are going to go. And then after that, I'm going to try and go to the charts and show you guys a few examples of how you can actually spot these patterns on a chart, because it's totally a different thing. It's one thing knowing what the rules are or what the cipher pattern look like. It's actually a totally different thing when you're actually trying to find it on a chart, and also trade it. So until next time, keep it simple, and I'll talk to you soon.